Well, l- let's be real. Nobody warns you about this part. You can check every box, hang every award, have the corner office, have an impressive resume, and still wake up thinking, is this it? I'm talking about that moment when you're looking around at what you've built, and instead of satisfaction, you feel nothing, maybe even dread. And then the questions start. What's my purpose now? What's the point of this? If that's you, listen up, because I'm about to tell you something that might surprise you. Finding your purpose after 50, it's actually easier than you think. Here's what I've learned after helping lots of successful women figure this out. You're not lost. You're just ready for something bigger. And by the time we're done today, you'll understand why this confusion you're feeling is actually a good sign. And you'll walk away with 3 truths that will help you stop spinning your wheels and start moving forward. And so I want to tell you something that might shock you. That restless feeling, that what's the point question rattling around in your head, it's not a problem. It's your brain doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Think about it. You've spent decades focusing on one thing, proving yourself, getting ahead, building something, checking the boxes, and you did it. You won. But now you're asking different questions. Instead of, how do I succeed? You're asking, well, how do I matter? Instead of, how do I get ahead? You're wondering, what actually fulfills me? Most people think that this shift means something's wrong with you. Well, I'm here to tell you it means something's right. You've graduated from needing that external validation to going for internal alignment. This is not a crisis, this is an evolution. They're the smartest ones in the room. They're brave enough to admit that success without meaning feels hollow. Now, I know this feeling because I lived it. In my 50s, I was at the top of my game, running a national organization, respected everywhere I went. I worked 25 years to get there, and I felt restless as hell. Is this it? Is this really all I'm going to do with the rest of my life? I wanted something that actually mattered more to me. But every time I tried to figure it out what it was, I really felt overwhelmed. I worried I'd have to throw everything I'd built and start from zero. And I didn't want to do that. That's when I discovered something that changed everything. And it starts with this first truth. Truth number one, you already have the raw material for your purpose. You've spent years building something. Maybe you've run companies or nonprofits. Maybe you've built a business from scratch or led community initiatives that change lives. You've been through funding crises, board drama, economic downturns, and every kind of challenge, including kids, there is. So when a problem shows up now, you don't need to panic. You've seen this movie before. You can spot trouble coming from 3 miles away. And that 30-year-old who has energy and ambition, good for them. But you have something they can't buy or learn from a book: pattern recognition. Yes, you've been through enough cycles to see the patterns and to see what really matters. I think about the nonprofit director who I worked with, who spent 15 years turning around failing organizations, or the entrepreneur who built 3 businesses and knows exactly why 2 of them didn't work, or that community leader who can just walk into any room and immediately see who has real influence and who just talks out loud. That's the kind of experience you've got. That's the kind of influence you have. And it's not just sitting on your resume. That's raw material for whatever comes next. You don't need to throw away your years of learning to find your purpose. You need to figure out where to use all that wisdom next. When we think about the most accomplished women who get stuck, here is where it is. And it's really not what you think. That leads us to truth number two. You don't need to start over. You need to stop settling for things that don't fit who you've become. I felt this again in my late 60s. I had already made one big change years earlier, but there I was feeling that same pull for something more. I wanted bigger impact, but I also wanted more freedom in how I worked and who I worked with. That's when I started my own business, late 60s, not because I had it all figured out, because I didn't, but because I knew exactly what I was done with. Okay. Here's something we don't think about much. I knew what I was done with someone else setting my schedule, done with the meetings that went nowhere, done with playing politics to get simple things accomplished. Here's what your 30-year-old self didn't have, what doesn't work for you anymore. You've done the people pleasing thing. You've worked for difficult bosses and impossible deadlines. So when you're thinking about what's next, you're not starting with a blank slate. You're starting with 30 years of, I'll never do that again, or I know that doesn't work. The head start. I had a client who ran her own consulting firm for about 12 years. When she came to me, she was exhausted. She said, Dr. Geneva, I'm just tired of chasing people who don't value what I do. I told her she didn't need to start over. She needed to stop taking clients who treated her like she was desperate for their business. 6 months later, she had fewer clients, but was making more money working with people who actually respected her expertise. That's what happens when you use what you know about what doesn't work. That's the gift of this stage of life. You've lived long enough to know what's worth your time and what's not. And that lets you move towards your purpose even better and more than your younger self could have. I want you to know if you miss this last truth, the other two I just talked about won't matter. This one's the game changer. Purpose changes with you, and that's a good thing. Your purpose is allowed to change because so are you. That's not you being flaky, that's you being alive and vibrant. I learned this in one of the hardest seasons of my life. Within a short time, I lost my husband and my parents. And one night I was reading the obituaries and I noticed that little line between the dates, you know, that line, that horizontal stroke, the dash. And it hit me. That dash is my life. It's the life of the people that I love, the people whose obituaries I was looking at. Everything between the day you're born and the day you leave here. And that's what that horizontal stroke represents. And in that moment, I realized My purpose wasn't just about the work or the titles. It really was about how I wanted to live that dash. And what I wanted in my 70s was different from what I wanted in my 50s. And that's okay. Purpose isn't one big thing you find once and keep forever. It's something you shape for the season you're in. It grows right alongside you. You know three truths. You already have the raw material for your purpose. You don't need to start over. You need to stop settling. Your purpose is allowed to change as you do. As you move through life, that's okay. You have everything you need. And that's what makes it easier for you to find your purpose in your 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond. I hope you found value in this conversation of, and have learned that finding purpose in your 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond is really easier for you now that you've hit this more than half a century lifetime. You have everything that you need to find that purpose. I appreciate you listening today. Remember to look good, feel good, and do good, and live that vibrant life. Love you all.